Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I'm Andrew Scaff. He's Mike Mormon. Today we're going to recap the NFL's Week 14 action, update our betting competition, talk a little bit about the World Cup, and then get into the NFL's Week 15 preview. We'll start where we've been starting the last several weeks with Week 14 in the NFL. Mike, what was most interesting to you from the stories? Was it Baker Mayfield's surprise, signing and then winning a game within 48 hours? The first 26 minutes of the Chiefs game, but not the last 34 minutes, or something else entirely. What would you find most interesting?
I think those two stories were very interesting, kind of bookending the weekend. I guess there was the Monday night game, but
or Brock Purdy versus
Brock Purdy doing well. I think we knew Brock Purdy was going to do well.
Yeah.
We talked about his stats compared to Trey Lance's stats. Purdy was a mark of consistency and of pretty good and to quite good college play for 4 years. Lance was a flash in the pan, it seemed like, and hasn't really done much in the pros even before he was hurt. Purdy, I think, has had better games than Lance has. He threw I think the longest touchdown pass for the 49ers this season was 25 yards by Garoppolo, and Purdy had two that were more than that in the game against the Buccaneers. So that was interesting. I think a lot of the quarterback injuries were interesting.
Oh yeah,
with
and maybe
got hurt, Huntley got hurt,
too.
Kyler Murray got hurt, Russell Wilson got hurt. I'm sure there were other. I can't. Yeah.
Mariota was benched, I guess.
Mariota has been benched for a team that's really actually maybe competing for the playoffs, which seems strange because especially they're only one game behind Tampa.
Yeah.
And I think I think they control their own destiny. If they win out, they're gonna pretty much have it because they'll beat Buccaneers again. I think they already have the tiebreaker over Tampa Bay, and yeah, who seems to be kind of going circling the drain almost. But somebody has to win the NFC South. But apparently Mariota,
maybe to signify Tampa's decline, it's brought me into town since I am currently in Tampa.
What how is Tampa? Is the weather nice?
It is it's about 75 degrees here during the day. I found it was like 35 and raining in Kansas City, so I guess I made a decent choice for the weather timing. Nice. At least anyway. But
you got away. Just like apparently I just read that Mariota has left the Falcons today.
Oh, just left.
Yeah, he is not playing. I saw a story where they might play someone injured reserve for the last 4 weeks of the season.
Wow.
Or yeah, he just left. I think he was really upset, I guess, about being benched to Desmond Ridder. Ridder is a rookie. Let's check out Desmond Ridder. Do you know anything about him?
I just knew that his name was Ridder. thus concludes information.
I remember he played for Cincinnati.
Okay.
And so the University of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's football program has been really good lately. Luke Fickell, I think he took the job at Wisconsin, right? At the Cincinnati coach.
I think so.
Yeah. So he went to Wisconsin, who fired their coach earlier this year. But Desmond Ridder was a 4-year starter basically for Cincinnati. He threw for over 3,000 yards his senior year, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I think he was drafted in the 5th round this year. And, his stats look somewhat similar, but actually a little worse. Brock Purdy. So yeah, it's a little strange. He's a little taller. He's 6'3". He ran for quite a few yards. He ran for average more than 500 yards a year. In his junior year, he had 12 touchdown runs. So he was rated the 4th best quarterback in the 2022 draft by most people I see, which isn't saying a whole lot because the 2022 draft was not thought to have a lot of great quarterback prospects. Kenny Pickett was number 1, and Malik Willis was number 2, and that was seen as pretty lackluster. And it seems like Purdy might be just as good as any of those people, although he's maybe in a better situation.
Right. And he doesn't have, there's not a whole lot of pressure on him. Pretty much however he does is going to be fine, right? Unless it's absolutely awful. But
I guess it's still possible that San Francisco could collapse and miss the playoffs. So if that happened while Purdy was quarterback, that wouldn't be good. But it doesn't seem like
right. But I don't think I think that
it.
would not be like anything worse than what they would expect if they had no quarterback at all, right? So and Deebo Samuel was injured, I guess, in that game too.
Deebo Samuel got hurt, yeah. Although I think it's not thought to be as serious as it looked. So he might make it. They thought maybe like a torn ACL or something. He just had like an ankle and a sprain and knee. So that's the 49ers. I think if he had asked the 49ers how they would do if both Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt at the beginning, asked them at the beginning of the season, I think they'd have to be thrilled about the way their team is going. I think those injuries have been rampant, and that kind of led to Baker Mayfield's signing with the Rams. What do you think of that Baker Mayfield game?
I mean, that's pretty impressive to like not really have familiarity with your team at all or the playbook and come in and win. I think it says a lot about him personally. I'm curious to see what happens as he learns the playbook and McVay's way that he'll try to handle him. It's like maybe just turn him loose, let him do whatever he wants, and don't even worry about a playbook. Just throw it away.
Yeah, maybe let him wing it every week and see what happens.
I think that'd be a fun rest of the year, right? Wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so too. I like one of the bets I was considering making for next week was I ended up not doing, but was the Packers at home against the Rams. Packers are favored by 7, and I think that seems a little bit high given the fact that the Rams won against the Raiders. They actually played the Chiefs fairly tough, and in the last couple of weeks. So they are the Super Bowl champions of last year. So it's not like their roster is just zero. They lost. They lost Stafford. They lost Cooper Kupp. They don't have, so some of the running backs they had last year. They don't have Odell Beckham anymore. But they're still a pretty good team from top to bottom. At least seems like they would have to be. So they're the Packers are. I don't know how they're favored by 7 over any team given the season they've had. What did you think about the Chiefs game? Maybe that can kind of segue into our betting. Betting recap.
First
I bet,
25 minutes were fantastic.
yeah, they're up
26
27 to
minutes.
nothing.
Yeah.
I thought they settled for field goals too
Oh,
much
early for
early.
sure.
They were only up 6-0 when I think at least one of those could have been a touchdown. And then then Mahomes had a couple really good series, and Willie Gay made that fantastic interception,
The
and then
the underhand touchdown pass.
yeah,
Right.
the underhand touchdown pass was one of, I think, Mahomes' best plays. Usually he does those underhand touchdowns, weird touches by the goal line, so like there's no catch and run with it. And this time
Right.
McKinnon ran about 60 yards.
It
To
wasn't
score.
a quarterback pass. That was a no look basketball pass, though, was it not? From watching
Yeah, it
it.
looked like something Magic Johnson.
Yeah. It had nothing. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't thrown like a football's thrown.
No, it
It
was
was very
kind
much
of
thrown
under,
sort of across the
shoveled.
body.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you would do in basketball. Not
It
a point
was,
guard would have delivered that with the same kind of zip on it too. Like
but
it was
yeah,
great.
but it was somewhat indicative of the way the Chiefs play and the way
Mhm.
that the offense is the plays are called for the offense. It
Yeah.
seems like first and second down are wasted, at least I'd say majority of the time, and then we have to think, okay, we'll just let Mahomes do something crazy on third down and we'll move the chains. And that
Yeah.
seems to be what happened every time in the first half. Then Mahomes wasn't able to do that. He threw some interceptions, and the Chiefs couldn't, score if Mahomes was not uh, magical on third down.
Mhm.
I don't remember how many of those interceptions. Did I think all the interceptions might have come on third down. I'm not sure.
That sounds
At
great.
least two of them, and it's like one of those things where they're constantly third and 5, third and 6, third and 8, third and 11,
Right.
because they had a it doesn't seem like there are any easy passes that the offense has gotten lately. And then they run it on second and long, which is dumb because then usually it's still going to be third and medium to long.
Right.
And if
Or sometimes
it's
longer.
if it's second and long, give Mahomes two chances to get a first down
Mhm.
rather than just one chance to get a first down when it's third and 8. And but the Chiefs did run the ball well at times, but
Mhm.
it seemed like when they in the second when they needed to run the ball well, they would only get 3 or 4 yards at the most. And
Yeah.
it wasn't. Yeah, McKinnon had some good runs early in the first half. He kind of bailed the Chiefs out with his receiving. Pacheco ended up sealing the game, but it was like it was one of those things where the Chiefs also, they tried not to score at the end, trying to
Uh-huh.
intentionally limited their offense to run the clock out. Where if they had just scored another touchdown, that also would have sealed a victory. You don't have to
Yeah.
run the clock out. It's like this idea. Well, if we have the ball last, the other team can't win. But like
Right.
if you're up by 13 points with a minute left, that's just
They're
as
not going
good
to run
as
either. So it's not.
trying to like only get first downs from running. Or I'm baffled sometimes by the way the offense is run with. I don't know who's calling the plays, whether it's the enemy or Reed, but if you look at the, I don't know if you read Arrowhead Pride. You read Arrowhead Pride?
Occasionally, not religiously like some do.
All the Arrowhead Pride like people, they all think that she
Right.
should run the ball more because Mahomes, they think he is selfish and playing hero ball, but I don't see that. I see that as a necessity to keep the offense moving, and that's the only thing that really does it consistently is when
I mean,
Mahomes.
just look at the number of receivers he throws to. It's not hero ball at all. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, like
That's completely ridiculous.
it says he like wants to pad his stats and things like that. I don't see any of that. I just
But he's not
saw that.
forcing passes into receivers. He's throwing it to guys that he can get, that he can hit, or he's throwing it away, or he's running it for exactly enough yardage to get what he has to happen as a first down. That's like all he's doing.
Yeah, I think it's I just didn't I don't understand the narrative. I guess it's just a lot of like Arrowhead Pride commentators are not as smart as a whole as the Royals Review uh,
Yeah.
comment makers, and I think that
Isn't that just football versus baseball? Just kind of.
I think it's well, I think
typical
because football is more generally popular
thing.
now, and baseball's sort of a niche sport, and
Yeah.
so it if you're gonna like be really into baseball and comment on a message board, you're probably pretty smart about it.
We're more informed at least anyway.
Yeah, but football, yeah, any drunk guy can yell at the TV, and um, but yeah, it's one of yeah, I see Mahomes as really being asked to do too much sometimes for the offense, and I think that's what happened on against Denver, and I don't know why the play calling isn't, why aren't receivers ever open for the Chiefs?
They are. I mean, they are sometimes, but they aren't. And when they are open, Mahomes tends to find them, and the plays look very easy. I mean, the last touchdown pass that he threw in the first half, maybe, was the one where he ran around to stay
Yeah,
open, and then he had to run into like about to be hit by three different players to throw a very nice soft toss pass to a person who's wide open in the end zone. But I mean, he was
he had to wait. He
very
had to wait
open.
like 9 seconds to get somebody that wide open. We're
Yeah,
like Cincinnati. Joe Burrow just throws to open Jamar
this is open
Chase
all
and
the
T.
time.
Higgins all the time. Like they run slants and they're open and it's an easy pass. And
Well, I
I
think
haven't.
the difference to me seems to be that the Chiefs get nitpicked on penalties constantly, and it doesn't seem that it's called the same way on both sides.
Yeah,
To
there were a
me,
couple of those instances. I thought the pass interference no call against I think Justin Watson in the end zone in the first half versus
mhm.
the big long pass interference by McDuffie against I think it was a Judy. I think it was against Judy in
Who
the
with certain crews may have been ejected early in that game before he had any touchdown catches. But
yeah
in
I
the
saw
three,
I missed that I missed the whole thing. I saw him taking his helmet off, like getting mad while he was going to the sideline. But
yeah,
I thought that was trying to rile Denver up, where it appears that he was just angry about some supposedly missed call by the referee. One of and he bumped into one of the
mhm. But
officials.
just taking your helmet off is supposed to be a flag because he took it off on the
Yeah,
field. And he walked all the way across the field without a helmet on. That's
yeah,
supposed to be flagged every time. And it
yeah.
wasn't.
He maybe crossed the other hash mark, but it was like he had like at least a third of the field that he walked
Yeah.
across, and
You're
like yeah, and then
supposed
he
to
like came back
wait till
and bumped
you're
into
off
one
the
of the
field, not just even to the sideline. But
and then he bumped into one of the guys he was officials he was yelling at, and I saw some of the other Broncos guys tried to hustle him away.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. I'm really surprised at least a flag wasn't thrown. I think I read somewhere that it seems like the Broncos are going to get fined, or Judy's going to get a big fine, but
mhm.
that
Well, I mean,
seems
what is
somewhat.
that? Who
It's
cares?
too
From like the Chiefs
too
would
little
say,
too
like
late.
they were already, cheated out of something in some way by officiating.
It's a little bit like the last week, the week before against the Bengals, where I think it was Jesse Bates just fell down, and
Right.
because he wanted his team to be able to substitute against the Chiefs in the goal line,
Yeah.
and it was an obvious fake injury, but no
Right.
penalty was called for anything,
Yeah.
and the
Was
Bengals
he
ended up getting
fined?
a fine.
I saw a headline that there were like three players fined for fake injuries last week. I didn't know if that was one. I assumed that was one of them, but I didn't
Yeah,
actually look to verify
the
it.
Bengals were fined $50,000,
Yeah, that makes sense.
or the safety Jesse Bates was fined $50,000. Apparently, there had actually even been a memo sent to the teams by the NFL like the day or two before, warning against that practice,
Really?
and still they did that, which, it makes sense, and I guess it makes sense you want to slow the game down, but it's you don't want things to turn into soccer where it's just
Right.
flop after flop, and
Right. Well, just asking for the refs to do something when it's not they're not like trying to actually win the game or win the battle or win, whatever it is they're trying to actually do, win that play. It's like they're just trying to get the officials to do something, and that's not part of the game. It's
yeah.
like I don't like the mentality of trying to draw a charge basketball. It's like,
Yeah,
just stop the other player from scoring. Like, don't try to get the officials to get you out of the situation. Like, just get out of the situation, right? Isn't
yeah.
that supposed to be the sporting
Well,
part of these games?
it's the thing that weaker people want to use whatever they can to the weaker opponent needs to somehow keep themselves in the game. If they just played the right way, they would get blown out. So they need to find every other advantage. Like that pass interference penalty against McDuffie was a little like that, with the pass was woefully underthrown.
Yeah,
It wasn't going to be catchable,
they
but
should
because
be
Judy kind of
rewarded for that. That's
ran back into him. But the Chiefs don't get that call though when it's on them. It seems like I can't remember a PI that's been drawn like that. There have been some pass interference penalties the Chiefs have benefited from, but they've all been like, oh, the defender got there too early or was holding them while they were running back.
somewhere along the line.
They haven't gotten any of those underthrow penalties lately. They did one. I think they had one in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. Kelsey did, but that's it's been a long time. It seems like
Well, it is.
I'm sure maybe they've had.
It is relatively rare that Mahomes underthrows someone very badly, but there are lots of pretty bad quarterbacks that get those calls because they're bad. I don't think they should be rewarding players for being bad.
I think half of Miami's offense with Tua is underthrowing Tyreek Hill and hoping Tyreek can make a catch, or if not, he'll get a pass interference call on him.
Right.
And I think it seems like the Dolphins are losing a little bit.
Yeah,
Running out of that luck. We can talk about the game a little bit, but we can talk about the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs for my first one of my bets this week, and they were favored by 9.5, up 27-0. I thought I was cruising, and they had to really scrape and hold on, and they only won by 6. So that was one I missed.
I did like that you messaged me during that game and asked if I was starting to feel sorry for the Broncos when they were down 27-0. And do you remember what my response was though?
You said never. You said no. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was emphatic and no. And then the Broncos. I guess the officials and maybe the Chiefs as well started feeling sorry for the Broncos, and I don't know. It just turned around.
I believe I said it. If it was 90-0, I would consider it. I believe was what I messaged.
Yeah, the Broncos really kind of woke up when they had those interceptions. The defense couldn't stop them, and then the Chiefs' offense. It was like let's run a lot of 2 short runs, 3rd and 8, try to make Mahomes throw a first down. If he doesn't, we'll just punt, and that's kind of what happened in the second half.
They did win. It still counts as a win in the column, right? So
but it was
not as
maybe I'm more frustrated
as we were hoping for.
I'm more frustrated because I lost the bet because of that.
Right.
I would have been 3-0 in the week had that come through. So I think I had a good week, but it should have been better, and that's what I was about. How did your first bet go?
My first bet was not so great. It was I had the Buffalo minus 9.5 at home against the Jets, and I was done in by my own favorite scoring play with the safety.
Hoisted on your own petard. Yes.
My own safety petard. Exactly.
Do you know what that expression means? Or what petard and hoisted mean?
I have known in the past, but you will explain it better than me. So
yeah, it's Shakespearean.
Yeah.
And it's from Hamlet, and it's basically a bomb maker. A petard is a type of bomb. A bomb maker blown up by his own bomb is what.
Well, then my understanding of it was wrong, actually. So that's fine.
It's basically you're destroyed by your own
doing.
Or the thing that you love the most. And something like that. Yeah, it's a
Perfect.
Poetic justice type of thing. But yeah, that safety. It seemed like the game was close for a while, and then it seemed like the Jets were. I mean, the Bills
Well,
were going to
wasn't
pull
much
ahead.
scoring. I thought it was that Bills would run it out early and they sort of hold on, but instead I think it was 7-0 at the half. And the Jets, I mean, and the Bills didn't score till the end of the half even, and it wasn't. I don't think any of it was easy.
No.
They did get some scoring early in the second half, and they got out to the 20-7 lead. And then a safety and a block punt by the Jets about halfway through the fourth, and then Jets managed to get the field goal late to get it within 8. But
yeah, it was not a good
9.5
game for the Bills, really. They only had 232 yards of total offense. The Jets outgained them to 309 to 232. Josh Allen only threw for 147 yards on 27 pass attempts. He did get a touchdown pass, and he had a running touchdown. But the offense it seems like the Jets' offense really knows how to play against Buffalo. They beat Buffalo at New York, and they played pretty close. I think if White hadn't maybe been hurt, Flacco came in at the end, maybe it would have been closer. But he's another quarterback that got injured. I think he's thought to be day-to-day, so I don't know if he's going to come back next week. They only won by, you missed that one by 2 points or 1.5 points. They only won by
1.5, yeah.
8.
The safety did me in.
The safety, yeah.
How was your second pick?
My second bet was better. My second bet was Dallas against the Houston Texans. Dallas was favored. It was a huge spread. Dallas was favored by 17. I think I saw it go up even after I made my bet to like 17.5 or 18. Wow. And Houston almost won the game. I was thinking before, and Dallas really rolled over Indianapolis. They probably would maybe overlook the Texans and not, or just at least not care and only win by 10 or something like that. But the Texans, it was 27-23, and it was 23-20 at one point. So it seemed like the Texans were going to take it. I also thought maybe the Texans, being from Texas, just like Dallas, maybe wanted a little bit of a statement to say, we're not just a team that nobody cares about in Texas. We want to be able to have bragging rights or something like that. We only have one win this year, so at least we might as well go after the Cowboys. And they almost did it, but I didn't care. They covered, so I won that. I won that one for fairly handily. It seemed like fairly early going, unless there was another fourth quarter like the Colts quarter where they turned the ball over and it turned to 35 Dallas points. I was sitting pretty. So I was happy with the Texans Cowboys. Again, I was thinking I made the right bet on all 3 games, but the Chiefs were the ones that let me down because they were way ahead and it should have been a conclusion.
I think I should have been 3-0 too, but the Bills underperformed and the Seahawks laid a total egg and still had a chance, but then blew that chance later too. The Seahawks were favored 3.5 points. They were again at home against Carolina, and it seems like there's no reason that they should be losing to Carolina. They're in Seattle's in a position to be, put more solid plans on their playoff aspirations, and then lose to a team with a losing record, and it doesn't really make sense at home. It doesn't.
Yeah, they're playing out. You think Carolina? Well, they're just playing out the season. they want to see who they have. They have an interim coach. They're not, who knows what is going to happen next year. And they're on the road across the country. You think that this is a game that Seattle really needs because they're playing against the 49ers next week. They're playing against the Chiefs the week after that. They need to get in the
You
playoffs.
have to have that win.
This is the game that they need to win. And they have, I guess there's some of their running backs were hurt, but it was I was one of the more surprising results.
But their primary running back wasn't like the starting court running back at the beginning of the year, even. He's kind of taken the spot as the season's developed. And so
he was a high draft pick though, I think, and he was hurt. So I think
he was expected to be
the
good.
plan.
But he wasn't supposed to be the number one guy at the beginning anyway. I think they were hoping that he would take it, but
Rashad Penny got hurt
into it.
It was but Seattle had been playing. They had a great start. They had a great start. They were 6-3 at one point. Now they've lost 3 out of the last 4, so they're only 7-6.
Mm-hmm. And now that they've let me down this week, I'll be betting against them probably the rest of the year, just out of spite.
It was. I'm gonna check on the box score. Sam Darnold had 120 yards passing.
Impressive.
The team, however, had 223 yards rushing. That's a lot of rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had 100 though. It was a balanced spread rushing attack.
Oh, what made me more upset too was that I'd seen an article right before the game too that said that Tony Jones Jr. was going to be starting for Seattle at running back, and then he didn't get a carry until the fourth quarter. So but I'd already picked him up for my daily fantasy team because I was like, well, he's going to be the starting running back for Seattle, so he's going to get yards, right? At least opportunities to get yards.
You got 2 yards.
You
got 0.2
yards on a single carry. I don't think it was until the fourth quarter. So why Seattle? Now I'm mad.
Like 2 interceptions by Geno Smith too. So it was, I guess that didn't help, and there were no turnovers by but it's what. And I think there's a turnover on downs where they couldn't get in across the goal line. So it was Seattle isn't a great team. They need everything going right to win, and it's like kind of the opposite of the Chiefs. The Chiefs, unless they're playing a really, really, really good team, can have a lot of things go wrong and still win, and
or at least be in it with a chance to win, right?
They've turned the ball over much. I think they're -6 this year in the turnover.
Chiefs, they are now.
Turnover differential, and they've only lost 3 games. So, it's like some teams like that are good, like the Eagles. They're way up in the plus minus. I think
the announcers in the game said that the Chiefs had the worst plus minus of all the playoff teams.
Yeah, I think they're 5th. Yeah, so here we are. The Chiefs are 4th worst. It says -5. Yeah. Oh, it says -5 here. They were -6. They got that late interception.
They did have 2 interceptions. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so they only went -2 in the game.
Yeah, they threw 3 picks. They got 2 interceptions. Yeah, so they went -1. Was there a fumble too that the Chiefs had? I don't think so. I think there was -1, but
maybe it was.
The only teams that are worse are the Rams, Saints, and Colts. And Philadelphia is +14.
Wow.
Baltimore is +9. Dallas +8. Minnesota +6. San Francisco +6. So those are all playoff teams. Minnesota is, that's what's keeping them in games is, they win close games and the turnovers. They lost, to the Lions last week. Yeah, Jacksonville is surprisingly +5. Yeah. The only, yeah, the Chiefs are way down. Yeah, they're the worst of the playoff
Oh, the playoff
contenders.
teams, yeah. How are the Chargers?
The Chargers are, I think, +3, +4.
And now
They're +4. They've had 17 takeaways, only 13 giveaways. The Chiefs have only turned the ball over 19 times, but the offense has only gotten 14 takeaways. So it's one of those things where sometimes that turnover luck is just luck, and that's why the team does, and that's why a team does well. Where I think it proves sort of that the Chiefs are legitimately good, that they don't need to win the turnover battle to win the game. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to see a game where Philadelphia turns the ball over a lot and still wins. Like
Yeah.
the one game they played against Washington where they had some turnovers, they lost. So if turnover luck doesn't follow them, I'm not sure how well they'll do.
How cool was the Willie Gay interception return for a touchdown?
It was awesome.
That
Get
was,
that stiff arm against Wilson. That was pretty cool.
but he had to do so much on that play to make it work because he jumped the snap count, was right on the snap, and got into the backfield fast enough that Russell Wilson panicked a bit and went to throw the ball early, but Gay immediately went back into coverage, tipped the ball to himself, stayed with it, caught it, then stiff armed Wilson to the ground. And then the easy part was like the 40-yard sprint to the end zone, right?
Yeah, because he's pretty fast. Yeah, it was only linemen, I guess, that were nearby. I think all the other fast guys had gone out in the pattern, and they were 30 yards away when he got the pick. So it was a Gay's a fast guy anyway, but it had there been a couple of faster guys closer to the line of scrimmage, maybe it would not have been as easy.
It was such a big effort for one person to do all of that. I thought it was really amazing though. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of fun to watch, for you especially, and for people who maybe are happy at the Buccaneers demise. Your third bet went very well. That was the one you won.
I did give one, yes. That was the Purdy versus Brady. San Francisco was favored 3.5 points. Tampa, and Purdy played pretty well, and it was a decent performance, and covered relatively easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. It seems like maybe between Purdy and Brady, the way they took over, late round draft picks, very similar last names, 5 letters in and a DY. There's an R in there, only one vowel, and
they're basically the same person.
And in some languages, the B and P are interchangeable. I remember when I was in graduate school that they would say, well, you can tell where a manuscript is copied, and if it sometimes by the letter usage, and if you can say in Germany, a German Latin manuscript oftentimes would mix up the B's and the P's. So that was so they are Purdy and Brady are very close, and but they weren't close in the game on Sunday.
What was the final? 35?
35-7. I think there was a late touchdown by the Buccaneers that avoided the shutout, but that was one that was clear sailing for you the whole way. Unlike the Chiefs, the 49ers were able to hold on to their big lead. Yeah, and my third pick also went pretty well. I was a little surprised that the Chargers were home underdogs against the Dolphins, who had the previous week gone to San Francisco and lost. This week they're going. I don't remember if they stayed in California or if they went back twice. But 2 West Coast games for Miami, and I think Miami maybe is getting a little bit run down as the season has gone on, and the Chargers really needed to win for their playoff hopes, especially after losing to Um, who did they lose to last week? Was it the Raiders?
Who was that?
I want to say it was. Yeah, they lost to the Raiders 27-20.
Okay.
And they really needed to win. It was also maybe a grudge match between Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa, because they were in the 2020 NFL draft. Tua was taken 5th overall, and Herbert was taken 6th. A couple years ago, we had we were talking about quarterback situations, and I think we both agreed that it seemed like Herbert was a better choice, given his college stats, his size, his arm strength, very high Wonderlic score, I think, as well. And
injury history.
Yeah, it seems like neither quarterback has gone to the playoffs yet. But I would, which quarterback would you rather have? Would you rather have Hurts would you rather have Tagovailoa or Herbert?
Herbert. Yeah, I don't think there's really. I mean, I think Herbert would like to have Tua's receivers. Would be my assumption, but
Herbert has pretty good receivers, but they're hurt.
He's not bad. They seem to be injured a lot, though.
Keenan Allen. Mike Williams was healthy this game, so he had a huge game. So, and then Tua can't throw the ball far enough for Tyreek Hill to get it. Hill had to improvise on one of his touchdowns where he got that weird fumble recovery. Did you see that play? It was like a big pile, and like somehow the ball squared out, and it was right into Tyreek's hands, and he just he took this like long loop around the
exactly as it was drawn up. Mike. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
And otherwise the Chargers defense really held Miami in check, and there was a +3 Chargers, and they ended up winning by 6. So that was a comfortable win for me.
9-point cover.
2-1. You were 1-2. Where does that leave us on the season?
Well, because of that one push, I hope we retain a slimmest of margins possible in the overall. You were now 17-22. No, sorry, 19-23.
19-23, yeah.
Minus 400 for the year. And I'm 19-22 and 1, minus $300.
Minus $300. So
that's in 15 weeks. So
14 weeks.
Oh yeah, this is week 15 coming up.
This is week 15. So yeah, I've lost.
So our per week losses are getting narrower.
Yeah, I think I've lost maybe about $7 more per week than you have.
Yes, that sounds about right.
7 and like 20 cents or something like that. I guess we'll talk about next week in a little bit, but I guess we talked a little about the World Cup last week, and our quarterfinal predictions they turned out to be pretty woefully bad, but that was because there were a couple of big upsets that neither of us saw coming. We both had Brazil. I think both of us had Brazil in the final, and they lost. And Portugal was the other team you had in the final, and they lost.
So I lost both my finals immediately.
Yeah, you did correctly pick Argentina to win. England also lost for you. The only game that won for me was France, and I predicted France to be in the final. So they play Morocco tomorrow. We filmed this on Tuesday, even though it's released on a Thursday. So they're playing on Wednesday, and it seems like maybe Morocco. They've already beaten Spain and Portugal. They've conquered the Iberian Peninsula. Now they are moving into France, and it remains to be seen whether the French will pull a Charles Martel and win the Battle of Tours, as they did in the year 732, to repel the Moorish invaders, and that was where the French, the Franks made their last stand, and that kind of marked the end of the Muslim conquest through North Africa and into southern Europe in the 8th century. But maybe the Moroccan team is looking for payback for that 1400-year-old battle. So
We should assume that is going through each and every player's mind during this entire tournament. What was that part of your dissertation research?
It was during the era of my
Yeah.
I did mostly church history, religious figures. So,
Right.
but it was 8th century, so it was that same time period. So
I thought timing wise, it sounded like pretty close to what I remembered.
yeah,
The era at least anyway, but I don't remember
yeah.
learning any of that in my world history
Two of
exploits from college.
two of the three major people in my dissertation, the Venerable Bede and Saint Boniface, both Bede I think died in 734, a couple years after the Battle of Boniface in 754. So it was pretty close. They were around during that time. They were in England and Germany, but yeah, it was that period. So and this is, I'm sure, what the Moroccans are very happy about. Morocco also bids to host just about every World Cup, and they get denied just about every time too. They lost, I think, to Qatar. They lost to the United States. I think they're gonna probably lose again for the. Where's the 2026 World Cup gonna be? Have they announced that yet?
Is that the one that's in North America?
Oh, I mean, yeah, the 2026 is the United States, Mexico, Canada. They announced the 2030 World Cup? That's what I was thinking.
Right. I don't think so. I wouldn't have yet, right? That announcement for the US or the North America hosting was just made like this year.
Yeah, they haven't.
Are applications even in yet, or is it?
I think they were doing it farther out, but that was because they were just getting bribes earlier, and I think FIFA wants to look a little better, so they aren't doing that anymore. But yeah, Morocco has
corruption in international soccer. What?
Morocco has made a confirmed bid.
No.
Also, a lot of multinational bids. Some South American teams: Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, Chile. European bid: Spain and Portugal, but also Ukraine are together, I guess, supporting Ukraine against Russia. But that's a strange thing. They're not next to each other. Spain and Portugal are, but then Ukraine.
There's a little bit of space between those countries.
And there's also an Egypt, Greece, Saudi Arabia joint bid in 2030. And it's very, very different from Morocco's doing its own, but very different from Qatar, where it's like a tiny country and they're having the whole World Cup. Where there are going to be more teams. There are going to be 48 teams in the next World Cup, so more games are going to be needed, and more hosts, probably more cities. So
I do kind of like the having the multiple countries host. It makes it more of an international event, I think, too. If it's not just in one place, but.
Yeah, I think the last multi-country one was South Korea, Japan in 2002. They for a while they had outlawed the joint bids, but they're coming back. But speaking of, we mentioned Argentina. Argentina won their semifinal against the plucky Croatians, who had beaten Brazil on penalty kicks, and they won 3-0. And Messi scored a penalty kick goal, and Julian Alvarez scored 2 goals, or a brace, as it's known.
Is it known as the brace?
It is known as a brace. Yeah. You know where the word brace comes from?
I have 2 guesses. I'm assuming they're both going to be wrong.
Okay.
as in the some kind of a dental correction, or the like suspenders that are not elastic, but just holding your pants up but not like pulling them up, right?
Yeah. I,
Those are my two guesses.
it's
Are
possible
either of them correct?
those are related somehow, but it comes from it's like the word embrace. It comes from the French word for arm, bras, B-R-A-S, and I think maybe it was bras in Old French and medieval French. And uh, the idea was that you have two arms, and you would talk about if you went hunting, and you came back with two birds, you would have, or two whatever, you would have a brace because you had one for each arm. And so a goal, one for each goal for a trophy for each arm. They actually mentioned brace in, I can't remember which Lord of the Rings movies was it movie it was. Maybe it was, I don't know, it's one of the ones. It was either the Two Towers or Return of the King. When Sam talked about it would be nice to have a brace of conies to cook for supper. What do you know what a coney is?
I do.
It's a rabbit. Yeah, so I think Coney Island must have had a lot of rabbits at some point.
Is that what that came from?
I think, unless it was
Probably
named,
is.
named after somebody.
Makes sense.
Looking at Coney Island.
It was, yeah. Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yes, I was right. The Dutch settled Manhattan and inhabited Coney Island soon afterward in the early 1600s. Since the Dutch word for rabbit was conijn, Konijn, the island had a large population of wild rabbits. So that's where its name came from.
So was that former Royals baseball player Jeff Conine? Is that
Guess so, probably.
is that the origin of that as well?
I'm gonna say yeah.
Spelled differently,
Yes,
but
it
the
is. The
pronunciation would be the
Americanized
same.
form of Dutch konijn, Konijn, for Middle Dutch rabbit. So it was an occupation. It was a name for a dealer in rabbits, or perhaps somebody who they had an ancestor who looked like a rabbit, maybe large teeth or big ears or something. So a rabbit monger. Yeah. I also see some people say conine is a Scottish name from Conan, which means little hound, but I'm not sure if that's the. There's also, I see conine was a variation of the French word canoine, or what we call a canon, which is a type of clergyman who, it would be a priest. It would be a priest who lives in a community like a monk. But it seems like probably most priests didn't have a lot of offspring named after them with their last name. So I like the Dutch rabbit the best.
Origin makes more sense, probably.
Well, so we have a final of Argentina against either Morocco or France.
Well, should we just go ahead and report this one? This won't actually make it on. This will be edited in time to be out before for us tomorrow's game, but for when this airs, yesterday's game. What was the final score, and who is in finals, Mike?
I'm going to say 2-0 France. So France and Argentina.
That seems, yeah, that seems like.
Although Morocco has not allowed a goal yet, and I don't even think they allowed a goal in the penalty kicks that they had against Spain. I think Spain got shut out, so there's been no goals scored against the Moroccan defense. So
yes, I saw some of the previous game where Morocco went to penalty kicks, but they weren't trying really a whole lot offensively, at least anyway. And they get a couple interesting sort of downfield looks, but they don't have the ability to like sustain an offense. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah.
They can take shots and they can
Yeah.
play defense.
Yeah, you never know though. So, sometimes those underdog
Breakaways.
teams when Greece was like that when they won the European championships over you get all the great European teams in like 2004, I think maybe was when they won. Yeah, 2004. And it was in Portugal. They beat the Portuguese. So just maybe similar to Morocco beating Portugal last week with Greece. Doing that in 2004, it was a strange, nobody thought Greece was going to win. But speaking of teams nobody thought would win, should we move on to our bets for next week?
For week 15?
15, yeah.
Let's do it.
A lot of interesting games week 15, I think, but I decided to go again. I decided not to bet the Chiefs minus 14 over the Texans, even though I think they could win by that much. They don't like to win by much.
A bit stung by the not covering the last week. Is that?
Yeah, I think they're 4-9 against the spread this year.
Sounds right.
So
they've not been good against the spread,
but they don't care. I could also see him like winning 37-3 and just so. But I could also see it being a close game given the Chiefs. So because it's one of those things. So I'm not doing that. The game I'm picking, my first game is the Lions Jets game. The Lions were actually favored at home against the then 10-2 Vikings, and everybody thought, well, what's going on with that? But obviously the odds makers were correct there. The Lions are a better team despite their record than the Vikings are. And so the Lions are at the Jets this week. And that is a pick'em game. I don't know if Mike White's going to be in there or not, but the Lions have been rolling lately. And so I'm going to go with the Lions as a pick.
5 of the last 6 victories for the Lions now?
Yeah, and the only game they lost was a very close game against Buffalo on the week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And they could have won that game.
Yeah.
It was 28-25. So yeah, I like and it also the Lions are looking for a playoff berth, and it seems like maybe they will get it. I'm looking at 538 right now. The Lions currently have a 20% chance of making the playoffs.
I think there are 2 teams ahead of them right now.
Yeah.
So they need to skip over.
There's 3. I think there's 3 teams that could fall out of it, and that's the Giants, the Commanders, and the Seahawks are ahead of them, and they only have to beat 2 of those 3 teams to make it. So
it's somewhat likely that 2 of those teams will take a loss this week because the Giants and the Commanders are playing each other.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks are playing 49ers then too, right? So that's it's possible they could be, right on the cusp of the playoffs after just this coming week, should they manage to handle the Jets.
The Giants, the Giants Commanders loser will be 7-6-1 in the
You're assuming one team is going to lose that game. They've already tied once.
I want to see them both 7-5-2. I think that would be hilarious, and it would make the tie-breaking procedure more fair. I think
slightly more difficult, but
if there's 2 ties, it's like one win and 1 loss, and then that would also, I think, enable the Lions to get in more easily because they just they could just win out, but it's it's funny. So I do think the Lions. I like the Lions against the Jets. Lions have a very strong offense. The Jets, I think, are fading, and they're still in playoff contention, but it's they
Seems
play
like
pretty well
they're-
against Buffalo.
Seems like their path to the playoffs is harder than maybe the Lions' path is.
The Jets, according to 538, have a 33% chance of winning. And
Right. If it was right now, I would think that actually I would rather be on the Lions. If I was betting on them for playoff spots, I think I would rather bet on the Lions than the Jets.
yeah,
Just because there's
Makes
so much uncertainty around the Jets.
and there are a lot more teams in the AFC
Mm-hmm.
that can make the playoffs.
Vying for those spots, and
Yeah, you have the Patriots, you have
that's in the division. So
the Patriots, Chargers, a lot of a lot. I think there are a lot of better teams in the AFC. It's a much deeper conference. Yeah, the Chargers, Jets, and Patriots are all kind of fighting for that last spot. Although I guess the Dolphins could be fading too, so maybe. But two of those four teams are going to be in it, and it's still possible that Jacksonville can come back. They're 5-8. I think Jacksonville only have, they will have to be one game up on the Titans, because I think the Titans swept the Jaguars. Even the Titans they're 7-6. They seem like they're fading too, but they're one of the division leaders. So one of those AFC South teams has to win, and I think it's comfortably good. It's still going to beat Tennessee. But yeah, what was your first pick?
Well, I've already alluded to it earlier today with the bad taste in my mouth after the Seahawks' poor performance, having bet on them last week, and they are playing at San Francisco this week, as we just mentioned again. San Francisco's favored by 3.5 points. I expect San Francisco to take that by more than a field goal, so I'm taking.
Yeah, they're in Seattle, but yes, San Francisco.
It is at Seattle. Sorry,
Seattle. San Francisco handily beat Seattle early in the season. I think that was the game where Lance got hurt and Garoppolo came in, and I think it's also a matchup of one of your losses last week versus your win last week, and you're going with your win over
doubling down on the win,
punishing the loss.
Exactly.
That's a good plan. I'm I'm not doing that. I think I've maybe bet on this team one time and won, and that was the Jaguars. I can't remember. I think I bet on the Jaguars at some point this season as they were as an underdog that was going to cover the points, and maybe it was against Philadelphia. I don't know. It was a game where they were a pretty solid underdog. And
if I was at my desk right now, I have the whole list, but I'm not anywhere. I'm like over 1,000 miles away from my desk right now.
Where's what hotel are you staying at?
It is a Hampton Inn.
Ooh, Hampton Inn, nice.
Fancy.
It's on. I'd say it's it's middle of the road in terms of leisure, but I think on the upper end of middle. So it's a good place. But yeah, I have the Jaguars at +4.5 hosting the Dallas Cowboys. So across on the other side of the state of Florida, a little bit north of you, the Jaguars are +4.5, and they've been also kind of lively lately, and it seems like maybe Trevor Lawrence has figured things out. I'm gonna look up his stats this year real quick. He was, coming out of college. It was like after his freshman year was probably when his stock was the highest. When he could have been like the #1 overall draft pick coming out when he led Clemson to the national championship. He never got another one in the next 2 years that he played, but
He's had to
But
wait
yeah,
out his college career, basically.
yeah,
right?
that's a little bit what happened with Herbert too. Herbert, if he had
Yeah.
gone out earlier, he also could have been like the #1 pick, and he stayed longer and kind of went down. So yeah, so in 4 of his last 5 games, Trevor Lawrence has had a plus 106 quarterback rating. He's thrown for,
Did you say plus 106?
yeah, 106 plus quarterback rating. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No.
Quarterback rating at least 100,
Oh, okay.
6. Quarterback rating at least 106.
Maybe it was like minus as opposed to minus 136.
He's thrown 20 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions this year. He hasn't had an interception for the last 5 games. So he seems like he's really turning it on at the right time. So I could see Jacksonville giving Dallas a little bit of money. I think it's also another game where Dallas is just trying to get through it. The games that they really want are their division games at the end, against the Giants, against the Eagles, especially Commanders too. So I could see that as I don't necessarily think the Cowboys are going to lose, but I think they could if they don't not really show up.
You just think they'll win by like a field goal instead of a touchdown.
Yeah. No, so
Or
the Cowboys last 3 are the Eagles, at Titans, at Commanders. So I guess they played the Giants twice already. Yeah, they played on Thanksgiving. Yeah. I think Dallas is good, but I don't think they're consistently good. How about your second?
I've got Philly -9 at the Bears is my second pick. I think Philly is really actually coming like really playing well now at this point. I kind of assume that they're going to roll Chicago. It's my personal guess, at least anyway. Yeah, I think, but yeah, Philly seems to be really actually playing now. Before they were kind of like winning games close, and then the last couple of weeks, it seems like they have really turned it on. So maybe they aren't so much of a fluke, but actually are a pretty decent team. They need to like keep that rolling. I think,
Yeah, they've won big. Yeah,
themselves.
they've won 4 in a row since they lost to the Commanders. They won by 1 point against the Colts, by a touchdown against the Packers. So those are pretty close games against fairly mediocre teams. But then they've played playoff contenders in the last 2 weeks. They beat the Titans 35-10, although the Titans seem like they're fading, and then they beat the Giants 48-22. So they won the last 2 games by 51 points total. 21, and it wasn't like they won one game by 40. They won both by 25 at least. So this might be, but this also, yeah, I could see them rolling against the Bears, but they also have the Dallas game the week after that. So
Yeah.
they could be looking ahead.
Easily, or just have a letdown after 2 big wins. But
yeah,
I kind of see them because they are a decent running team. Their defense is pretty good as well. Those types of teams tend to do well against the Bears. So
yeah, I could see it. Yeah,
I'm not so worried about it. I think for me, it's one of my more confident picks in the last few weeks, at least.
Nice. And speaking of confident picks, my last one isn't that confident. I'm not. I haven't been confident.
You set that up. Speaking of confident picks, this pick is not confident.
Yeah, I this far in the season, I've come to realize it's a coin flip every time, and
it sounded like he started out like, "Oh, I got this one," and then it's like, "I'm not so sure."
And the coin is probably weighted to the other side that you pick. Yeah, it's like playing roulette, where it's you think it's 50% red or 50% black, but there's also those 2 green things that make it
Right.
You don't have 50-50 odds when you play roulette,
Right.
and the double zero, the zero. And I feel like that when we make our NFL picks, like it seems like
Mhm.
at worst it should be a coin flip, but really, I don't know. Somehow it's there's guys in Vegas are smarter better at this than we are.
I
But
don't think
I
so,
haven't.
Mike. I think we've gotten all our picks right. The teams just haven't played what
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
supposed to do. That's not our
Yeah,
fault
yeah, they've let us.
that
It's
they
not our
can't
fault.
play football the
We've
way they're supposed to.
logically we've made. I would say we've agreed on most of our picks. I think, even if, but maybe again that says when we both agree, maybe we should go the other way. But I'm going back to an over under pick, which I haven't done for a few weeks, I think. And this is a game that will feature likely two backup quarterbacks, two teams that have been struggling all year. The Cardinals and the Broncos. The Cardinals will start Colt McCoy probably. The Broncos probably Brett Rippon. And the over under is 36.5. And I actually think they're going to make the over on that. This is a very low number, and the Broncos haven't been scoring much, but they kind of woke up against the Chiefs. Rippon, I think, was moving the ball almost as well as Wilson was until that last interception. Maybe Eric Judy with his tirade kind of has woken up, and so all it has to be is 20-17, and it'll be over. And I think the Cardinals and Broncos together, if they work hard, they can put that many points together. So
Well,
say,
I guess even if they're absolutely terrible offensively, maybe the defenses get in that vicinity, with points off turnovers. So
yeah,
that's a
the Broncos
possibility.
defense especially. So
Pretty
maybe
good.
yeah. So they want, it's one of those things where they're going to make it so low because everybody's picking the under. I'm going to go with the over there. So
It's probably going to get lower as the week goes on.
Yeah, I probably should wait,
Yes.
but we don't have the luxury of waiting. So I'm going to go over 36 and a half. How about your last one?
So now, well, you didn't quite sound so confident initially. Maybe built some confidence in your last pick as you were
I talked myself
justifying it.
into it. I can always talk myself into it. I could have talked if you had said you got to take the under, Mike. Well, let me give you the reasons for that too. So
yeah.
I could have done.
But you had to seemingly maybe a bit at least build your own confidence.
This is the time to take the under because they're going to keep lowering it, and but
yeah, I think I'm gonna start confident and I'm gonna stay confident in my last pick here. Cincinnati -3.5 at Tampa Bay. I don't really need to go into a lot here because I don't think Tampa has anything. They're
the Bengals are rolling
fading
lately. I think
the Bengals have been playing really well. They've been beating high quality teams and beating them, at least, and not necessarily handily, but they've been getting it done. And it's only a 3.5 point spread against a team who isn't nearly as strong. But it seems like teams still want to beat Brady.
That's what I was going to say.
They are okay with a gentlemanly finish. I think they want to actually beat Brady and try to solidify some kind of superiority, at least, or just show that they're on the way up as opposed to not right. I think this is one that I'm not worried about right now either. But I could still be wrong. But
yeah, you might think that the Bengals are 9-4. The team they're playing is 6-7. Bengals are going to overlook the 6-7 team because they have big games coming up at the end of the year. They have the Bengals still have to play at New England, against the Bills, and against the Ravens to close out this season. So that's a tough last 3 games. And you can think, oh yeah, this is the game that they would kind of skip over. But it's Brady and the Buccaneers. I think I think every team gives their best shot against Brady. And it's kind of like every team gives their best shot against the Chiefs, it seems like, because they're the traditional
that way
top favorites. So I don't think Cincinnati's going to overlook. And I think Tampa has something to play for. I think they still have the division to play for, so it's not like you'd want to overlook them, even though they played badly. So I think a good, game in nice weather for the Bengals. I think their offense will roll. So I like that pick too, which probably means that Tampa Bay is going to get an upset. I'm losing confidence, but you might still have all the confidence.
late game Brady magic, or more like the Brock Purdy versus Brady romp from last week. So yeah, the Tampa's offense just isn't very good.
Yeah, maybe the defense, like maybe it's one of those weeks where the Bengals line collapses and Burrow gets sacked 9 times.
That does happen sometimes.
Or throws a bunch of picks like he did against Pittsburgh in the opening week. So who knows? But I think we should go 6-0 this week easily. Any other games that look good, or you see it?
Well, I'm obviously looking forward to the Chiefs game. I just don't like betting on those.
I've been burned the last 2 weeks on the Chiefs.
Yeah, and this is another one where they should walk through this easily, but they somehow won't. Is just how it seems to be, right?
Yeah.
14-point favorites on the road against Houston. What do you think about the 3 Saturday games? Anything?
3 Saturday games. I like that. I guess they did because college football is not playing on Saturday really until the bowl
season
games start. But then even the playoffs are on Saturday too. I'm wondering a little bit why they didn't start Saturday this past week, because there were no college. I guess there was the Army Navy game. That was the only game. Game. I guess they didn't want to take away from that. But Saturday games.
The Army Navy game.
CBS usually, I think.
Is it? And CBS doesn't have. It's all NFL Network for Saturday games.
Yeah.
But that does make the schedule pretty light on Sunday.
Yeah, the best Saturday game, I guess we would say.
There's 2. There are no buys this week, so.
Yeah, I think 16 games. That's nice to have.
It is a full slate.
They had the last of the buys this past week. I think all the Saturday games look interesting. Colts at the Vikings. The Vikings are not who their record seems to be, but the Colts still have Jeff Saturday. And he's just some dude walking off the street coaching them. But it seems like the more he's gotten to know his players, the worse they've done. One win against the Raiders, and they almost beat the Eagles, but they've kind of gone down.
They got destroyed, and then it got worse. I think the next game, that's been pretty rough.
Yeah, so they beat the Raiders, lost to the Eagles they beat the Raiders by 5, lost to the Eagles by 1, lost to the Steelers by 7. So they got worse by 6 points those 3 games, and then they created.
But against worse opponents, though.
And they lost to the Cowboys by 35. So.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys beat the Vikings by 37. So maybe that means that the Colts will win by 2 if the transitive property works. And I think we've talked about how the transitive property does not work in the NFL. Maybe.
I tried to claim that a few weeks ago, and you said that's not how it works.
No, it's not. But sometimes you want to believe in the Santa Claus or fairy tale, and you can knock yourself into it. But I don't think the Vikings are that good. And there's Ravens Browns, which will be, I guess, the Browns are favored because I guess they have Deshaun Watson's going to be quarterback.
I thought you were going to say that is technically a game.
It's technically a game. But yeah, I still and I think the best of the 3 is the Dolphins and the Bills. But the Dolphins really, really need this game to kind of stay in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Make sure they stay in the playoff. So if they've lost
they don't want to slip any further.
They don't want a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Speaking of losing streaks, but I hope together we have a winning week rather than a. I think we were 500 this week, so that's been better than a lot of past weeks.
Yeah.
We didn't lose this past week combined. But should we wrap things up?
Sure.
On that note, on that non-losing note, I, as always, and Mike Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Track Power Hour. Please like and/or subscribe to our podcasts or YouTube channel. I heard on actually this little note after before I wish you farewell. I was listening to satellite radio. There's some baseball podcast that uses a version of that I, he, we together, that kind of with that cadence. And I wonder, yeah, I wonder if they listen to us because I think we originated. They might be one of our dozen listeners. So hear what it was
be
called.
Our listener.
Yeah, the repeat guy. There's some guy who just listens to every is a super fan out there somewhere. It's a little like you remember that Frasier episode where Frasier had he had an archive of every show he ever taped, and Daphne I think taped over one of his shows or lost one of the tapes, and Frasier was desperate to find a tape of that episode, and he on air he asked if anybody had taped the show that day. it was kind of hilarious, like who would tape a radio psychiatry call-in show. But there was one guy who had taped every show, and he had this giant wall archive of and the shrine to Frasier, and Frasier was even creeped out by it, despite his sort of pomposity and big head and
hopefully we're one step closer to that.
Yeah. And self-aggrandizing behavior. So
that's us.
Yeah, we are. We're pretty narcissistic, I think. Given our flowing locks and bushy beards.
Yes, obviously.
Well, little diversion there, but on that note, wish you good day.